times through. Twice on this side, twice on that side. You got to go. Force yourself, concentrate. Don't stress yourself. Wide base when you step into it. Step into it. That's wide base. Boom. Go right to the shot. Back up to the top of the key. There you go. Good. Hand up, good. Yep, good. Bring it up.
Oh, hello folks. Lindsey Huddleston with Sports Psychology Solutions and the Youth Sport Coalition on the scene again at Wayne State University with Coach E.J. Haralson with the Wayne State Warriors. Great guy, a real patient guy. I've been knowing him for several years and been able to see him out on a recruiting trail. He's doing great things not only at Wayne State but has a great story, and we're going to talk about that for a little while. So with that, thanks for having me. I'm glad we got a chance to sit down. You have done so much from your career as being a high school player at Finney High School here in Detroit. Going on to Mott Community College and becoming a community college All-American, taking them to the finals of the Community College National Championship, and then being the first player at Mott Community College within 7 or so years to sign a Division I offer, which brought you back home to the University of Detroit. If you watched the recent 30 for 30 on ESPN with Felipe Lopez, his dream story, he was part of the Dream Killer. They ended that run that they had right there and moved on and whatnot, but now he's doing some great things in the city. He's even looking at things outside of basketball with his EJ signature collection that we'll talk about, but he's really always been about developing young people. So here we are with the chance to talk. How you doing today, man?
Doing good. How about you?
Good. So when you meet people and you talk about what you do at Wayne State, how do you describe your work and your passion for helping these young people?
Well, I describe my work as it's not a job. I enjoy what I do. I have an opportunity to invest in young men that have the same passion as I do. We all have a passion and a love for sports and a love for basketball, so I just allow that to be the conduit to get these guys to understand the importance of education and academics.
Right, and you've done really good with that. You and I talk when you're out on the recruiting trail about these young people who get so focused on wanting this big D1 offer, but it never comes. And you know about that personally because just like all outstanding players, you were thinking about that, but you had to go a different route. So what do you tell those young people who have this expectation but still may not be able to get that offer but want to continue to play?
Well, I tell them, one, that everybody's route is not the same. So don't be afraid to be a trailblazer and go a different route than everybody else. The other thing that I tell them is that Division I basketball is not the end-all, be-all. There's a big misconception out here that if you don't play Division I basketball, then you're not that good of a player. And it's a subconscious thing that is done, and not intentionally by coaches and those in the basketball world, but just the common theme is he's a D1 player, he's a D1 player. But then when you look and you look at it, there's some pretty good, but there's some good basketball Division II level, there's some good basketball Division III level, there's some good basketball junior college and NAIA level as well. So the main goal is a free education. The main goal is education, even if you have to invest in yourself financially. But the main goal is to go to a situation where Coach One wants you, and that the opportunity for them to invest in you and give you an opportunity to play for them, regardless of where it is, then that's the main thing.
All right. Oh, that's so great. Always dropping nuggets. We were talking earlier about, being able to get the support from the community that you come from. And in many cases, players, whether they have a choice or don't, they may play outside of the community they're from. We talked a little bit about, the natural human nature of if there's a local player playing at a local school that's local to them, they're probably going to get a little bit more support to be the player that they want to see succeed compared to someone coming else. So when there are opportunities for all these great players who are in this community, the Metro Detroit area, the state of Michigan, the tri-state area, they should really keep in mind the benefit of being close to home because it's easier to get some support, if I will. What do you say to that kind of statement?
I say you're definitely right. The one thing about the high school coaches in the area and the players in the area of that school that they go to, there's a direct relationship. There's a more impressionable relationship between that college coach coach and the coaches in that area, just because they give camps there, they have clinics there, they have a full relationship with those guys.
Sure.
Where now when they recruit those guys, they're gonna frequently be back in those gyms. So they may get the nudge a little further, a little quicker than the out-of-state guy. So that's one benefit of being at home. The other thing is when we send that notion that we have to send our kid away in order for them to grow as people, then that just means that you're entrusting that just means that you don't want to be included in the process, because when you send them away, now it's all on them. But everybody can't function like that. Sometimes we need that nurturing process. So I just think that there's benefits to being at home. Then the other benefit is that the people that invested in you so much get a chance to see you without any extra duress. You know, they can drive 20 minutes, 30 minutes, an hour to come see you play and be back at home.
Sure.
You can go back on weekends and go to wherever your religious institution is. You can still be a part of your family in that, and you know, from that aspect. So there's a lot of Jews to staying local and staying at home.
No, that's good, because I think ego is so involved with our young athletes, and they want to be able to get that big opportunity and go as far as wide, but then there has to be some practicality to what's going on too. You know, you're in a more practical situation when we talk about different players by being probably one of the few college coaches in America that's actually coaching their son. Yeah. So your son has come here as a walk-on, and we talked a little bit about how it's made you grow as a coach, and I would imagine as a parent by coaching him. Talk a little bit about that and what's that like. Yeah,
well, definitely is a different dynamic, definitely a dynamic that I think I'm blessed and I'm appreciative to have. And although we don't see eye to eye on a lot of things, you know, one thing is I never, as best I can, I never get the two construed. I never get them mixed up. So, you know, I can't treat him different than I treat the player. So what it allows me to do is just treat all the players like my son. So it makes me a better coach. The other dynamic is, you know, college is a situation where you're there to learn, you're there to grow, you're there to mature. So I don't want to still be the dad as if he was in my house and I'm telling him what to do all the time, because then it stunts his growth as a man. So I have to let him stumble. I have to let him make mistakes and learn from them mistakes. So, and the good thing, the frustrating thing is watching it and not doing anything about it. So sometimes, most of the time, I just sit back, ask him a few questions, and I let him figure it out on his own. The other thing is, you know, it's just great being able, because you spend so much time with other kids, just having the opportunity to still be able to spend that time with your son. And you both share that same passion, then you know, it's a great thing. But you know, him being a walk-on, he understands his situation. He understands that he has to really work, and I do applaud his work ethic. He has a great work ethic. He enjoys his education. He enjoys school, and he's doing really well. So it's definitely a dynamic that I'm blessed to have.
That's great, man, to have that experience. You know, and you talk about the influence you're having, the development that's taking place. We're here in the gym earlier. You're working a young man out, Latin Davis. We'll get a chance to meet him a little later. Talk about the importance of what athletes, no matter what level they're on or what level they want to go to, need to be doing, you know, when the season is over or when the game is done, to continue to prepare themselves to go forward.
Well, you definitely have to be humble enough to do any and everything possible that you need to do to continue your dream. So we have the young man, as you just mentioned, Latin Davis. He's a young man that has incredible work ethic. So now that he finished up his college career here, he'll be graduating, and then he'll be moving on to try to continue to play ball at the professional level, to join so many other Wayne State grads that we've had here that continues to play professionally. So he's in the gym, and that's the bottom line. You have to get in the gym. You have to stay in the gym. And then you have to evaluate yourself and see what you need to work on. And he's a guy that will do that. He's definitely humble enough to listen, but has a big enough ego to go out there and go at you hard and not back down. So that's what you need. You need a little bit of both. So he stays in the gym. He stays in great shape. A lot of guys get discouraged when it doesn't happen as easily as they would like it to. So they kind of get discouraged, and they kind of, you know, stop going to the gym as much, and then they wait till they get this particular offer, or maybe maybe this opportunity comes up, and then they try to cram like you do for an exam. You want to run it, you turn it up. But what all that's showing is that you didn't believe in yourself until somebody else believed in you. So what you have to do is stay in the gym, regardless of where that call may come tomorrow. It may come 2 months later. It may be a situation where you work out for a whole year and it doesn't come. But you still have to keep your ducks in a row. You have to still be humble. You have to stay in prayer. You have to work on your game a lot. And then you just need to continue to have faith. And then any opportunities, you need to definitely talk. You need to talk to different people. If you know anybody that plays professional ball, you need to talk to them and see if they can help you out. You just have to be humble enough to extend yourself to be informed.
So many great points. Every short segment we have, just starting with the latter, talking about being humble enough to reach out to people, to say, hey, can you give me some insight? Because you'd probably be surprised about how many people who'll be willing to help you if you're humble enough to do that. But also, too, kind of putting my sports psychology consulting hat on, you talked about that validation. Two parts I want to say with that. One is you're waiting, or that athlete who's waiting for someone to validate them with an offer or with a compliment, as opposed to having that confidence. And I think that's something we all struggle with. I struggle with myself. External validation, wanting someone to acknowledge you, compared to having that internal validation of knowing I can do the work. Talk a little bit about how important that is, and I'll add also, speak on the comment you made to the young man when he was shooting, finish with the make. I mean, we overlooked that, but can you talk about those principles as it relates to the mentality you need to have to be on this level and beyond?
Yeah, the ironic thing about self-confidence is that you allow other people to tear yours up. So that's the thing. So you have to be mentally tough enough. To continue to believe in yourself. You can't be naive, and you can't just neglect the truth in the conversation. But you definitely have to be humble enough to evaluate yourself and be honest with yourself and say what you need to work on. And then at the end of the day, you talked about that external validation. What you have to understand is that if someone else has more expectations of you than you have of yourself, then you need to reevaluate your situation. Because nobody should push you harder than you should push yourself. Just because you know your grind, you know your struggle, and you know what you want out of life. And nobody else knows that better than you. So you have to be able to do the things to build your confidence. Now, if you don't, then what you have to understand is that you can't be mad if nobody else does, because if you don't believe in yourself, then what's the logic behind somebody else believing in you?
Wow, that's really powerful. And to that point, people talk about confidence and arrogance, or confidence of being conceited. And I've been wanting to think, and I want to get your thoughts on this. When you have confidence, it's almost like money in the bank, meaning I got the money and the gold to back it up. So I'm confident of my game because of the work I put in.
Absolutely.
And I think a lot of young people in particular, they feel they have to be really haughty and be like, no, I'm going to speak it into existence. I get it, but that has to be equated with the same amount of work. Really quick, you can't get fire before you chop the wood. And I think so many of our young people and adults think they can just say, hey, I want fire, and where is it? So what do you think as it relates to that confidence and having the things to back it up with your work ethic?
Well, I think you said it. I think confidence comes from the work that you put in. Arrogance comes from you that this is just an elitist attitude that you deserve it.
Sitting here with Coach E.J. Haralson at Wayne State University, part of a great program, been doing some great things, working with great people. Before we bring this young man over, he's going to be wearing a great brand that I've been seeing. To be honest, I saw the E.J. Sydney collection. We were out at a nice event. I was like, man, what designer, luxury brand is he rocking? And I see the symbol and whatnot. We got to talk a little bit more and found out that was your collection. You want to talk about the E.J. Signature collection a little bit before we bring Latin over?
Yeah, well, it's a brand that I designed for what I say the soul of the sport culture, which is the athlete. I know a lot of times there's a lot of people that benefits financially from athletes, and athletes never get the recognition that they deserve. I think that if it wasn't for these athletes, then I definitely wouldn't have a job as a coach. A lot of these sports analysts wouldn't have jobs as analysts. So there's a lot of people that's benefiting off the likeness of an athlete. But I think that, and I put my brand together just so one, it can not necessarily expose, but promote the athlete. It's a brand that's one, stylish. It's two, durable, so guys can work out in it, and, and that's one thing that I thought was very important, because me being not necessarily a health nut, but just more of a health conscious guy. You see a lot of coaches. Coach Al at Consortium, prayers to his family. He lost his life a few years ago to a heart condition, and then there's some college coaches out here that's had heart surgery. Danny Ainge just had a heart attack, and prayers to his family. And then John Beeline had surgery earlier this year. So health is important. So just trying to get us as coaches to realize that we need to take care of ourselves as well. We need to take that little time out of our day to exercise and to eat right. So in a part of me trying to push that movement forward, I figured that why not push that movement and then have a brand behind it. So that's when I just decided to brand myself and my message, and just to get people to understand how important it is for you to stay physically active, for you to stay mentally healthy, and then for you to take the time out to invest in yourself. So I think that's really important, taking time out of your day to just exercise a little bit. It doesn't have to be to the extreme of 2 or 3 hours in the gym, but as long as because actually you do benefit equally if you just eat a little healthy. Even if I can't work out, so the day I can't work out, I'll just eat healthy, and that'll go a long way. So just getting people to understand the importance of health, and then also being able to put a brand behind the athlete who needs that support.
Well, you do good. You're a great ambassador for health. Looking at your social media page, everybody expects you to keep looking good, looking healthy, and that's great that you got that lifestyle. So let's see if we can get Latin over. Hey, Latin, come on over, man. We'll get Latin Davis to stop in, one of the athletes he's been helping. He's going to come share with us and put it together. Here, just grab a chair, man. Pull on up. Come on in here. Let's get you in the shot. There we go. Perfect. We're right here. You good?
Yeah.
How you doing, man?
I'm good.
Good. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that's him. He's here. Latin Davis here. I think I saw you win your state championship a few years ago at Milan. So you went on from being a state champion and finding your way down to Detroit. I know you got roots in Ypsilanti, Michigan, correct? And now you're here. So talk about what your experience has been like from the day you won that state championship to sitting right here. Tell us about that.
When I won a state championship in high school, it was real good because it was 65 years since we won it. So from that point on, it's just been growth from there.
Wow. So EJ, what has it been like being able to recruit a young man like Latin and to see him actually get on the campus and make his transition and almost count down his days till he makes his next move? What has that experience been like for you?
It's actually been a great experience. I had a chance. I was fortunate enough to watch him play in high school as well, and then actually went out and was watching him work out. He may not remember this, but his dad was in the gym. His dad and Nick, they had a workout. I'm not sure if it was AAU. I can't remember, but it was way out in Milan. But I already knew he had a lot of Division I offers. So I knew he had Division I offers, and then he chose to go to Youngstown State, which was okay. And I, just continued to follow him. And then when the opportunity presented itself for him to come here, we were definitely in love with the thought, and definitely hoped that he would make the decision to become a Warrior, and then he did. And then just having him here has definitely been a joy. He's what you want from an athlete. He's a humble guy that works hard in the classroom. He's a blue collar guy that's willing to do whatever it takes in order for his team to win. Didn't mind taking a back seat when he needed to, and then stepped into the role of a leadership role and did it well. And had a good career here.
Wow, he's saying a lot about you, man. He said like you're not even sitting here. That's good, man. To hear you say something that being able to take a back seat at a certain time, what does that mean to you when, as a competitor, you want to be out there, you want to be out front, but the coaching needs or the team needs are different? What is that like to make that transition, but still be able to be regarded as a leader on the team when the time comes?
Basically, like you just said, just doing whatever the team needed. When I first got here, we had 4 seniors on the team. Marcus was a leading scorer. Lito was a leading scorer, you know. So just trying to help those guys and just trying to help them win.
Right. That's good. Talk a little bit more what would you say to, yourself, so many years ago when you were finishing up winning that state championship? Unfortunately, most players don't have the opportunity to win the state championship. So what would you tell to yourself then, or even an athlete around that time, on what they need to be looking at so they can be in your position with, multiple opportunities going forward?
Just keep pushing, working hard, don't ever stop working. And that was one of the things that I always done ever since high school, just kept working hard no matter what the situation was. Just stayed in the gym, in the classroom, and just stayed in the gym all the time.
Sure. One more to that point. When I talk to young people all the time, one of the main conversations I have with them, Coach, is about how they respond to their peers and what that does to influence their success going forward. So for you, Latin, tell me, how has your success in college basketball impacted your immediate relationships with your friends, good, bad, or indifferent? Has it been a growth opportunity? Because I really think, and Coach, you may see this as well, that, your peers and peer pressure have the biggest impact on, one's success. What has that been like for you?
Well, I say some of my friends, we kind of, distant apart because we didn't have the same motivation, I'm real close, with my friend Nick, who I played high school with, and people that really is going down the same path as I am. So I think I have a good pack on a lot of people, but then there's some, it's kind of, where jealousy comes in and things like that.
How was it dealing with that when you started seeing relationships change, people change, and things like that?
It was tough because, it's been some of my close friends I knew since I was a kid. So just seeing us grow apart like that, it was kind of tough at times, but you got to keep moving forward.
That's good. Well, I just want to make sure I touched on that. Coach Haralson said some great things about you. Now, I'm not putting the pressure on you right now, but what has it been like to be recruited by, play for, and here it is, you looking at transitioning your career, and Coach Haralson is still in the gym with you, helping you get up shots and work the cones. What has that experience been like, working with Coach Haralson?
Well, Coach E, he's had a good college career, and, himself, so just being coached by all these coaches who had great college careers, great high school careers, it's been a blessing.
That's great. Well, I'm glad to hear that. So with that, folks, this is Lindsey Haralson with Sports Psychology Solutions and the Youth Sport Coalition. I had a chance to come down to Wayne State and get in the gym with Coach EJ and company, and got a chance to meet a great young man, Latin Davis, who's come down to Wayne State and get in the gym with Coach EJ and company, and got a chance to meet a great young man, Latin Davis, who's going to have some great things going on. Coach, anything you want to share to our viewers, your supporters, before we sign off and get ready to move on to the next thing?
Well, no, I just want to thank you for taking this opportunity to come down and talk to us, because a lot of times we're an afterthought, and that's certainly not the case when you start talking about Wayne State University being a Carnegie One institution, meaning that it's one of the top research institutions in the country.
That's true.
You talk about we're one of the largest Division II schools in the country. We have 28,000 students. Our student body is a little over 28,000. When you start talking about that, there's over 300 majors that you get a chance to choose from, then that shows that there's a lot of room to wiggle. And then there's also some good basketball here. We have a good, not only just a good brand of basketball, but a good brand of sports. Our swim team is doing really well. Our cross country team, so there's a lot of good things happening in the city of Detroit, and that's really it. And then for the youth out there, because this is a show directly, toward the youth, just understand how important your academics is, but most importantly how your parents is and those people that invest in you. There's nobody that's sitting in front of you, whether it be on this camera or anybody that's watching, that's done things on their own. You always have great support, whether it's your mom, whether it's your dad, whether it's your uncle, whether it's your cousin, your uncle, your big brother, doesn't matter. You have other people that's invested in you. So don't look at your opportunity as just your opportunity. When you do that, you run a higher risk of blowing your opportunity.
Wow.
So just take the opportunity to realize that there's a lot of people that invested in you, and just pay it forward. You do the things that you're supposed to do, and when you're in a position to help somebody else out, you do the same.
That's great. Great words, always positive. With that, guys, keep an eye on Wayne State. Keep an eye on these two young men as coaches, as players going forward. I want to thank you guys for taking the time, and hopefully you got some good things that can help you. Take care.